man, when they're falling, I know it's obviously when you say that, but when they're falling, you just really see how they can demoralize the team. And then the defense picks up. It almost like it triggers people to defend even at a higher level. And that's exactly what we saw from Jaylen Brown. Man, what a first half. Incredible. 26 points. He ends up with 42 career high. I mean, what he's able to do, we know what he's able to do in transition, but I love when he's going in the half-court set, down the middle, slicing through defenders. I mean, that's the Jaylen that makes you think, wait a minute, this guy can really be explosive, can be dangerous, sort of, reach that plateau when you're like, wait a minute, no team can stop this because Jaylen Brown's already efficient on his own. Like in a regular shooting night, he's not bad when it comes to shooting anywhere between 40 to 50%, let's say, right? It's very rare you see Jaylen go below that. But so when he's really on, he's really on. And for Jayson Tatum to sort of, let him do his thing. And I don't mean that as in like he allowed this to happen, but you know what I mean? Like to see those two sort of blend together, both got it going from behind the arc. The chemistry obviously looked great. Everyone was in the fold. He was also being a playmaker as well, looking for guys, getting guys open looks. I mean, it was great. It was great basketball. Exactly what you want to see from Jaylen Brown. Yeah, it was against the Memphis Grizzlies. Yeah, John Morant didn't play. I mean, this team did just beat the Brooklyn Nets when Karis LeVert was really cooking, and I thought that was a good display of what they can do, at least defensively. And obviously, you knew the Celtics were favored in this one, but I just thought the Celtics didn't let up. Typically we've seen this so many times where they give up a big lead and they come right back and then crush a team in the second half. No, it was solid throughout.
Yeah, we're talking with Brown right now. We're talking about the most efficient player in the NBA through 5 games and doing it at every level. He's got the production at the rim. He's about a 55% shooter from mid-range right now. And from the 3, he's pushing back above 30% there now with the 7 to 10 night. So he can hit shots at every level. This is like the peak of Jaylen Brown's potential that I think we possibly could have imagined when he got drafted that year. A guy that can handle, create his own shot, produce for others as he did tonight, the great full court pass to Tatum that he had there, and the defense is a given with him. So all of a sudden we're asking, does this guy have second team all NBA Tatum level production in him? I mean, I never ruled out the fact of him at least matching Tatum's ability, but forget this game. It's the Grizzlies. 42 against them doesn't mean much, but if we're looking at the whole package this year, against a bunch of different types of defenses, Indiana especially, he's not able to be stopped right now, and the efficiency is just mind-blowing.
Yeah, that's the thing. When we were talking a little last game, and hi, Jimmy.
Right, yeah, what's up, Jimmy? But yeah, but Bobby, people sleep on it, though.
We were talking a little bit last game about Jaylen, and I think people in the comments took it as if we were being negative, and we weren't. What we were saying was, it's amazing how Jaylen just had 20 points, and it looked like he barely touched the ball. His usage was so low last game, and that's how efficient he's been. And that's what at times you're like, why isn't the ball in his hands more? Because if he can play this efficiently, I mean, this is ridiculous. You're not going to shoot the lights out like this, but the game looks so slow for him right now. He's just so comfortable when he gets it in. And sure, he's had a few dribble off the knee moments, but I mean, geez, these guys are still pretty rusty with no training camp. He's able to get into traffic and into places and get wherever he wants on the court, just really smooth and slow. The up fakes, getting the shot off when he does drive and not just going up wild and trying to just yoke it on everybody. He
he used to do that a lot. Yeah.
Right. A lot. And now you see how many times has he gone into somebody's body, gotten them back, get them to go up a little, and he just waits on it, and the patience, and he lays it up and in. So many of those things. And the jumper is just, it looks so freaking good.
That mid-ranger is beautiful right now.
It's unbelievable. And the space he's able to create, he gets in the lane, and he can just get that little jumper if he wants it almost any time. So it's amazing.
Schedule, though, right? I mean, let's think about it. He's continued to progress his game year after year. I mean, this is the next step, right?
But that's what we talked about last year. Last year, he took 2 steps in season, one to start the season and then another, so that's right. He's almost, and then we were worried about that, right? Let's let Jimmy jump in here, but we were a little worried, Jimmy, that not worried, but
yeah, I wasn't worried, man. That's the last thing I wanted to getting into this one. I was like, wait a minute, he's gonna go off against the Grizzlies.
But the whole season, the offseason we're talking about, you need Tatum and Jaylen to take a big leap with Hayward gone and Kemba slow in order for this team to get to another level. And we were worried that, how much of a leap can they take? They've only had a month off. They're going to be the same guys we saw. And again, I don't know what you see after 5 games here, Jimmy, but it looks like Jaylen has again taken another leap.
Yeah, so I gotta apologize for being a couple minutes late. The reason I had to actually
apology,
shower,
Cam.
I had to hop in the shower after that game because Jaylen Brown had me sweating. He had me sweating. The shots he was hitting, the drives, the threes. I mean, I was drenched, so I had to shower off real quick before I got on set here. But listen, I mean, and I hinted at this last night. I threw it in there towards the end of the show after another what I thought was a solid Jaylen Brown performance. I was like, and I don't want to pit these two guys against each other because that's not what it's all about. Like John said, you need them both. You need them both to be even better than they are now because of what we're seeing from the other 12 guys.
You just sort of mentioned this, though. Yeah, you did.
But I casually said, who would you rather go to war with? Who would you rather go to war with right now? Jaylen Brown or Jayson Tatum? And this is what I said last night. I'm not saying it now because he just had a career-high night. And again, I know Jayson Tatum's going to have his nights too. But Jaylen Brown's just showed me something since the bubble where it's like this guy like checks off almost every box when it comes to like leadership, intangibles on the court, off the court,
right,
outside shot, skill. He's improved his ball handling. His defense has been more than, above average. It's been great. He can play multiple positions, right? I mean, and that's not, again, it's not a slight at Jayson Tatum. It's not pitting them against each other, but it's just like you can see the leaps and bounds that Jaylen Brown has taken here. And I will never forget draft night. I was in the TD Garden. We were doing a version of this, the Garden Report. You can probably find it on YouTube somewhere. It was me, Jared Weiss, and Kevin O'Connor from The Ringer. And this was before The Ringer had
Kevin really liked Jaylen, didn't he?
He loved him, and we all loved him. Me, Jared, and Kevin loved him. But the Garden, and it was all suits
they
there.
They were so mad,
like crazy,
yeah.
And it was too bad. But they weren't really booing because it was Jaylen. They were booing because they wanted fireworks. They wanted a trade. They wanted, they didn't. They weren't.
It was
that
the drop because it was the Simmons Ingram draft, and just getting the 3 pick was such a gut punch because you knew there was a drop off there, and you wanted to swing the pick for a player. And Jaylen was the one where they were trying to talk us into him, and everyone
felt like they were settling for him. But like I think Danny Ainge really did like him, and there was.
But you saw him in the tournament with Cal. He looked. You could barely notice him. He came in with not a lot of shine.
Yeah, he didn't have a great college year, and the high school.
Wait, hold on, Bobby, real quick. But Jimmy, you guys were high on him then.
We liked the pick. We weren't like, oh, they got to go out and get him, but we were totally fine with that pick. Like we saw the upside. People were using the fact that he wasn't just like only about basketball. Like the story on Jaylen Brown coming in the NBA was that it's no surprises like how this type of guy he is, how he's interested in politics, social justice, things off the basketball court. Like that was almost used as like a knock against him. Like, oh well, this guy. He might not even really like basketball.
When did you care about basketball enough? Yeah,
exactly. We were like, dude.
It's like the Josh Rosen thing.
But see, the way I thought it was.
Yeah, well, that didn't work out for Josh Rosen. But
let's just be thankful they didn't take Dragan Bender. I was a Jamal Murray guy that draft.
Which would have been good too.
Because he was a polished scorer, and I loved that. But my God, I felt like we were going to take Bender, and boy, would that have been something,
I always thought because of his body size and the upside he had on defense that they were going to pick Jaylen, right? I mean,
Danny wanted a wing so bad.
Too. You saw the sort of he's a Brad guy. Like he can get it done on the defensive end because of his athleticism and.
I thought it was a force because we wanted the athletic wing so bad. I thought Danny wanted that athletic wing so bad that he's like, that's the best one out there. I'm taking him regardless. And it felt like a force then,
Right.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. And it did for a couple of years as a Celtic where you're like, this guy lacks polish. Like, is this guy ever going to get there? For a couple of years, you're like, good. He's a nice little athlete, but he's sloppy. I never saw this level of progression. I didn't think his ceiling would be this high. Everyone was saying, just wait. He'll get better. I'm like, I didn't see it in the early going. I don't know if you guys did.
That first year was tough when he got buried behind Jay Crowder and all the different wings that they had on that team. I think Gerald Green was even above him in that rotation. Once
John's favorite.
the key for him was that first year, 2018, where he boosted above Hayward with that injury. Crowder got traded in the Kyrie trade, and all of a sudden by playoff time, he was in a frontman position this team. And that run, especially that Philly series that he had, where he hurt the hamstring and came back and was scoring 20 points every game, using the lethal transition game to his advantage, and starting with defense. I mean, he just became such a polished, hardened defender in this league from the earliest days, and didn't worry too much about the offensive game. Let some of the other guys like Isaiah handle that initially, and Terry Rozier and others that second year. So he mastered that end of the floor and used the transition game to open up his offense. And now, you saw in that third year, he started adding the dribbles and that rising stars game. And like every single year, he just pieces it together one by one. Like there's such like a small steps progression with him where he wasn't trying to, focus on everything or the shot too much right away. He was just kind of building it up piece by piece. And it's been a great way for him to get to this point. And like I listen to Goodman.
And it all culminated in a 5th place finish for Team USA.
Well, I gotta do this to Jeff.
I don't know how you went through that whole resume without mentioning Team USA.
Well,
I thought for sure you were going to come back to that.
He only mentions Team USA when Miles Turner's in the conversation.
Well, Miles Turner pulled him
he'll
down.
bring him over. Yeah, bring that team up quick.
It's just
real
the dog
quick.
Miles Turner, not to laud the accomplishments of anyone else.
I want to do this to Jeff Goodman too, because the story's not over for this year, but he came out on this network and was like, this guy's not a number 2. I don't know if he can get it done.
Bobby's not going to forget this.
Well, he did it last year, a year ago. A year ago,
he did it last year, but without the pressure of being a 2. It's a different game. What I think it was without the Kemba crutch, because like look at it the last year, there was no pressure for anybody to be a 2 really at any point in time, because one of 4 players on the court at any point in time could score 30 points. So you could have the off night or defer or not not be in the flow of things or not your shots just not falling, and it didn't matter. But now you can't, like there can't be too many Jaylen off nights or Jayson off nights, because the rest of the offense will have a hard time if those guys are struggling, or one of the 2. You could struggle last year. So I think that's what Jeff was trying to say, to play devil's advocate there, that the pressure it's on you now. You've got to be a 1A all the time. You can't have these games where
fair enough. The dribbling creation.
More like that's the story. That's the narrative. Like,
you have to be the guy. Right. I think that's what Jeff was saying.
I think
he's ready to just take it and go. To be the McCollum to the Dame. Like that kind of like the 1 and the 1A sort of thing.
Yeah, and he's fortunate. He's fortunate that he's not in that Tatum position where he has to facilitate all game long. Like, we're gonna do the Tatum Brown thing all year long, but you do have to give Tatum the credit for jumping on the ball as much as he does, creating for the offense as consistently as he has to do. And we've seen him go through his ups and downs earlier this year in that role. It allows Brown to kind of, go one-on-one on the sidelines and get some of those isolation tries that he does. So you put it all in context here, but I want to give credit to Marcus Smart. Because what did we say all postseason? Is Brown ever going to be able to get past Smart shooting? Like, is he ever going to have the ball in his hands enough to reach this level? I think you got to credit Smart and the seat back that he's taken early this year to allow Brown to get to that position. Like Smart, minus a couple of threes tonight through 5 games, has not been his usual assertive, aggressive self. He's focused more on setting the Jays up. And now they're the indisputable 1s and 2s on this team, and it happened so much faster than I think we could have expected.
Yeah, and he's letting his Smart's letting his offense come into the flow. He had the couple of back-to-back threes there, and then the heat check. But he did chuck 9 threes tonight. It was kind of a loose game, but you're right. We were worried that that was going to be an every night occurrence. Today he was a little bit shooty, but that's fine.
4 for 9 though.
I don't think all 9
he's fine. He was effective. He's efficient.
I don't know if all 9 were chucked. I don't know, John.
Yeah, he was catching and shooting in the corners.
It was all within the flow.
The flow. I like when he does that.
I like the way Marcus played tonight. As far as the Jaylen thing, again, just to put a bow on it, phenomenal game. It is great when you have the Tatum Brown debate, and it's just which one of these guys is the awesomest player, instead of worrying that one's not carrying the water or not living up to number 2 hype, or Tatum not living up to number 1 hype. He didn't have a monster stat line. I loved Tatum tonight, Everything was in flow. It was such an easy 21 minutes. He got buckets when he needed them, when he wanted them. He facilitated. He was to plus 29 in like 21 minutes. Everything was, we were talking about it on our text chain before. I love these last two games that he's not just holding the ball, dribble, setting up for that kind of pull up. He is getting it and being decisive as soon as he gets the ball in his hands. I'm going to go, I'm going to shoot, I'm going to pass, I'm going to do something, but he's not fiddling with it as much. And I thought tonight he was awesome. Again, clearly outshined by Brown, but a really efficient game coming off of last game where he clearly changed. We talked about, did he change his approach? He came out in the post game and he said, I changed my approach. And he took a lot of that to heart. I'm settling for shots. I'm taking the easy way out. And the last two games, I thought he's been awesome.
And it goes back to what we were saying, like after, I think it was game 2, or one of the commenters was like, everything just looks harder for Smart and Brown. I mean, for Tatum and Brown. It's like they just make things look difficult for themselves out there. But it's like it's been a sort of a different story the last couple of nights. You haven't get that impression. Certainly not by watching Brown. And like you said, John, everything looked kind of like in the flow, looked easy for him tonight. He wasn't forcing things. When you can have like a quiet night and still have that type of production, that's when you know that like you're really starting to get a good feel for the game and you're comfortable out there.